Gary Kiesler here today with Understanding the Word. Today is Thursday, October the 16th, 2025, and we're going to take a look at a serious thought about could 3-eye Atlas be the red dragon of Revelation 12. A lot of slides, not too much scripture, but just paint the whole picture of where the comet 3-eye Atlas is in our solar system. It's already gone around Mars. It's behind the sun currently on October the 16th. It will come out from behind the sun, I think October the 29th. We might not be able to see it from Earth, but at least the Hubble and the Webb spacecraft will be able to see it. And then it's going to go way out, and it's going to actually come very close to Mars. Even though 31 million miles is not that close, we don't know what's happening to it right now behind the sun and what results could happen from that could impact this to make it actually be the red dragon of Revelation 12. And it may not be the red dragon right now. I mean, it's the red dragon, but it may not be in a full activity of the last 7 years for some time, as all these gravitational planes and things in the heavenlies take place. It would pull it toward the Earth and toward the planets and the sun that it's predicted in Revelation chapter 8, with the star Wormwood and a couple other stars that fall and fragments that fall on the Earth. So we're going to get to all that. Very exciting, but it's very hard to understand, but it's also very real, because you can see that is all within the scope of God's power. And addressing that, let's take a look at this particular slide. This is from Joshua chapter 10. And if you notice, it says in verse 13, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day, and there was no day like it, or before it, or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man, for the Lord fought for Israel." Now it also talks of, in verse 12, actually where the sun would be and where the moon would be at that time. So I just wonder if people who are into looking and using stellarium and other tools could actually find out where the sun and the moon would have been in those two particular locations, as just an affirmation of this, and the I guess you'd say the anomaly that might have happened, well, it did happen according to the Word, and that I believe did happen way back then. So we look at that. Now we have to realize that none of this is going to happen. We're going to look at Revelation 8 in just a second. None of that is going to happen until the nation rises against nation. So we'll take a look at that verse in Matthew 24, and it's starting with Matthew 24:7. And that's where we can see that Jesus is saying this is the big, important, sudden thing that happens in Luke 21:35, a snare. It's going to happen to the whole earth, and after that starts, then there's no stopping the slide of humanity all the way to the returning of Jesus to set up his kingdom. So he says in verse 7, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." That would be Revelation 6 and the four horsemen and all the things that are in there. So it says, verse 9, "And they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Now, that's not Israel. That's supposed to read, "You shall be hated in all nations." So anyone giving the testimony of Jesus for my name's sake will be hated in all of the nations of the world. Now, this is, again, the rapture is happening before verse 7. Okay, we see from verse 27 down below this that the lightning comes from the east to the west. Then it says there will be dead bodies in verse 28. And then we're going to see the tribulation in verse 29 of those days, which is coming further down here between Matthew chapter 15, Matthew verse 24:14 to verse 26. 24:15 is when the Antichrist rises. So this is a phase here, rapture, nation rising against nation. Then this part here, 8, 9, 10, 11, talks about the killing of the 144,000. Many will be offended. That's a great falling away that it talks about, that the end won't come until there's a great falling away. So that's that in verse 12 and 13. And then the gospel, the preaching of the kingdom in verse 14 is Revelation, I think it's 19 something, where the angel goes around the world and preaches the gospel so that everyone in the whole world can hear it at that time. Of course, we're pretty far at the end days at that point. But then it starts again in Matthew 24:15, right in the middle of the Revelation 13, at the start of the second beast, where he goes into the temple and he really becomes the physical Antichrist, and when God starts pouring out all his wrath. So as we see all these things happening, the time it will take for maybe this meteor to cause some damage in the solar system that will actually come back to Earth could be this 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 year period that it takes for all these events to unravel here on the Earth at the same time. The sealing of the 144,000, the seventh world empire in Revelation chapter 17 rising, or being destroyed, if you will, if you believe it's America, and then the eighth world empire coming in, which is Revelation 13, and the first and second beasts, which is the first 3.5 years and the second 3.5 years. So we have to understand these things. But what you really need to know now is could this meteor bring all these, the beginning of all these things, which would take us to the rapture, okay, and then that spare us from the "for nation shall rise against nation" aspect that Jesus talks about in Luke 21, where he says a snare will come on all the world, and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all these things and stand in the presence of the Son of Man. So we see that's a great and wonderful thing that can happen, just like we saw in the verse about Joshua, him stopping the sun and the moon in their tracks so that they could win that battle. So we see that God has done these kind of things before in the heavenlies to impact the earth, and now we're going to look at Revelation chapter 8, and we're going to see, this is it right here. Here we go. I'm not sure that this is Revelation 12. I'm sorry, so we're exactly right. We'll look at Revelation 8 in just another minute. So, Revelation 12. This is what the sign we believe we saw in September 23rd of 2017, and we saw the first things, but we didn't see verse 3. Now look at the understanding in this. Verse 12, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven. Now look at verse 3, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Doesn't necessarily mean that they both happened at the same time, although it sounds like it did, but we never saw that wonder in heaven, a great red dragon standing at the feet in the constellation Virgo, the feet of the woman that was clothed with the sun. In verse 1, chapter 1, is actually the constellation Virgo, with an event that has only happened once before, about 3,600 years ago. Very timely to be back in that day. And that was the same event where she had a crown of 12 stars. Of course, 12 stars represents 12 tribes of Israel, represents the 12 disciples. So there's a lot of things in the Bible. It represents 12 times 12 being 144, so 144,000 would be there. And we're even going to see the number 9 is used in these verses here, because he sweeps 1/3 of the stars of heaven right here in verse 4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Now that could literally be the casting down of let's say Pluto, Mercury, and Venus through the fragmentation of 3i Atlas, if that should happen. So there's a possibility there, or even something worse. There's another catastrophe I have in mind that could be actually worse than that, and I'll tell you about that in a couple minutes. So the third part of the stars would be 3, because quite frankly Pluto, is partially considered a planet, so that would give us 9 planets in our solar system, and a third of that would be those three planets. So that's something just to look at. But let's look at this here. So there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and a crown upon her head, a crown of 12 stars. We saw that as I was just explaining in the anomaly, or the constellation lineup with Virgo in September 17th, 2017. So, and it's funny because in 2017, that's when this first, as a matter of fact, within a month of this constellation event with Virgo, we saw the first interstellar comet, Oumuamua, and that came in from interstellar space. That was the first one we could really positively identify, and then the second one came in 2019. That was Morozov, and so we've got that one. Now this is the third one. That's what's called 3I, third interstellar, and it was seen by the observatory called Atlas. And so we see that this is our third one, and this is different from the other two. And I'm not going to go into that. I did that on a couple videos, past couple videos. So take a look at that. But this wonder in heaven, and then we see, and then there appeared another wonder in heaven. So this could possibly be a very different time. And so could this be the time that we're seeing now? And I'm going to go over that in just a minute. It says, and his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. Verse 4, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God in his throne. Now, this is interesting comparison with Jesus being born. We all know that Herod hated Jesus and was going to try to kill Jesus when he was born, but Jesus wasn't caught up right away, was he, into the throne? He was not. So we do see that all this bears some significance there. It's a possibility. I mean, that woman was Mary, but really the child, if you read in Luke, it says, and that holy thing which is born of it says that the Holy Spirit will come upon Mary, and that the holy thing that was born of her would be called the Son of God. So it's the Holy Spirit that came upon her that caused her to have that pregnancy. And we see here that if this is the Holy Spirit bringing the 144,000 into the world, okay, and the devil ready to kill them, and he does kill them, but it doesn't matter to them because they are sealed by God in Revelation chapter 7, and they know what their role is, and they know, and we see in Revelation 7, we see them all together with God to serve him in his throne eternally. So we're seeing all this stuff, and although it sounds different, but you know, this particular child was the child of the children of God that would be forever with him in heaven. So and so you have to read Revelation 7 to understand it and see the martyrs, but they were ready. So, and it says too at the start of Revelation 7, to hurt not the earth. Okay, so it's an implication there that things are coming maybe through the skies to hit the earth, or something was happening in the skies that would make people be very, or the angels have to either hurry up or somehow keep the earth from being harmed while God was sealing his 144,000. So we see that, and so now we're going to look over here at a further continuance of understanding this whole thing, and that is Revelation chapter 8, where it talks about all the things. That's where it really starts, and talks about all the things that are going to hit the earth. So let's start with verse 3. It says, and another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and given unto him much incense that he should offer it up for the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which is before the throne. So on the golden altar there was the prayers of all saints. So we see a lot of these prayers that come from Revelation 7, where they're martyred, and they're saying, Lord, can't you avenge us on the earth? And he says, wait until the rest of your brethren are also killed like you. Okay, and so he's telling them to wait. And so these are the prayers now, maybe of these people. And then finally God is incensed, and the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Okay, so now we see that something is going to hit the earth. And this has to do with, I think, some results of the things that might be happening now or within the next month or so, or 3 or 4 months, because actually 3I Atlas doesn't get near Jupiter until I think it's March the 16th, 2026. So we'll see that there could be a possible intersection there that could be very dangerous. It could bring these things into effect. And so the angel took the fire of the censer and cast it to the earth, and there were voices, and the 7 angels with the 7 trumpets prepared to sound. And the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Okay, blood tells me that's human blood that caused possibly, very likely by a nuclear strike, because it says they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. And there followed and they were cast upon the earth. What were cast upon the earth? You know, the thunderings, the lightnings. No, the things that were cast upon the earth could be fragments of Three-Eye Atlas, or it could be a nuclear war. I think it is. This is the initiation of the war in Matthew 24:7. We just looked at, but it could be the remnants of Three-Eye Atlas if it were to impact another meteor or another planet in our solar system, and perhaps cause devastation from there. So let's go look now at way on up here. I got to go all the way back to my very first screen, and there we are. There we go. Play that. Pause. Okay, right there. So this is just to show you where Three-Eye Atlas is in our solar system, and you can see Three-Eye Atlas. You can see the sun. Three-Eye Atlas is in yellow, but if you look around, you can see the legs of Virgo in blue lines that are just above the Three-Eye Atlas, and you can see that leading up to her torso, because she was clothed with the sun, and so she's kind of like laying on her side, and these are the legs that are going up here too. It says Virgo at the upper left hand, not left hand corner, but the most high left hand side, the little speck. That's starting with Virgo. That's the VIR. So that's the constellation Virgo in there. Well, the dragon appeared at her feet, and when Three-Eye Atlas comes out from around the sun, actually, she's going. That is going to be when the constellation Virgo will be behind her, and Three-Eye Atlas will be at her feet. So is Atlas, Three-Eye Atlas, the red dragon that let's go back up here, is the red dragon we see in Revelation chapter 12. Interesting thought. So let's continue on with this line of thought. Let's go over to here, and it says, I ask AI a question, and it says, yes, the path of interstellar comet Three-Eye Atlas takes it through the constellation Virgo during its exit from the inner solar system in late 2025. Specifically, the comet will pass near the feet of Virgo in December 2025. And so you can see that after passing the closest point to the sun, which is now in October, Three-Eye Atlas will become visible in the morning sky again in November and December. It will travel through the constellation Virgo and Leo, moving farther away from the sun and continuing its one-way hyperbolic trajectory out of our system. So we see that is kind of cool there, that AI confirmed that. I'll look a little more at what AI says. I ask it the question, what would happen if that Three-Eye Atlas ran into Jupiter? So it says, based on astronomical data projected to be in the vicinity of Virgo's feet in early December, however, the specific date that passes the star represented foot is not available in the search. Well, I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's December 4th. Okay, Atlas is going to be near this western part, near the general area of the feet. Reappearance in December is going to show up again so that the Hubble and Webb could see it. And then the star that represents Virgo's foot is the star 109 Virginis, marking the location of Virgo's right foot. So I thought that was interesting. Then we already looked at this star chart right here. Go there. Oops, there. That's what I was looking for. I just read that part, so you can do that reappearance in December. And we looked at the. Let's see. I think we got this one next right here. Okay, we'll look at this one, and this is actually I didn't want to use that one right there. That was kind of repeated the other one. So this is kind of an interesting look, or a look at the dates. Right on the right-hand side, you can see Three-Eye Atlas. Now this outer ring, if you can see, you see a bright purple ring that looks like it's going around the sun. That's one gravitational plane, but you can see another one further out where the number 5 is coming in there in November 2025. That's really October. Well, anyway, that's a little bit different, but that would be Jupiter out there. So that data is all wrong. I don't know why I have that slide. Anyway, Jupiter, that's the way it's going to do this. Now, I tried to get this through before. When is the cold and rainy season in Israel that would happen, that we consider that Jesus would be taken to Bethlehem. That would be in Israel, November through March, and now we're seeing these things happening, like the dates kind of when Jesus could have been born on the earth could possibly be the dates perhaps that Three Eye Atlas is going to be taken out and hit something in the solar system, kind of birthing all these events that God's talking about in Revelation 12 and Revelation 8 and Revelation 7. These kind of events could be kind of like the birthing of a child from Revelation 12. That's just something I thought was interesting. And let me see here. I'm going to go right down to here now. Got this one. I already did that one. All right. Now this is a little better look, I think, here at the planes. The planes are the way the gravitational fields around the Earth comes in, and let's see if I've got that one on my screen. We've got the same ones here. Okay, let me go here. Nope, not that one. All right, well, we'll get to that later, maybe. All right, well, I don't even have that one on my screen, but I think this is interesting because you can see where Jupiter's at, and you can see the comet Atlas coming around, and you can see how as it comes up, it's going to be impacting Jupiter. Now, when it's behind the sun, anything could happen. It could hit another comet back here. The heat from the sun that's going out could be something that could impact it. Solar winds, electromagnetic fields that we don't see on Earth, or actually impact the Earth from the sun, could impact this comet, changing its trajectory. Just 31 million miles in space is not that much. And if something happens, and that should happen to plow into Jupiter, let's see what might be the result. So I believe I've got a screen that's going to show that. All right, what is this right here? Okay, so again, another view of, this is Jupiter, upper left-hand corner, and this is Three Eye Atlas coming toward it. You can see how they're going to be very close. Same thing, and it talks about 58 km per second. Anyway, it's traveling at about 150,000 miles an hour through this, maybe more with the sun's pull. It might be 168,000 miles an hour. So anyway, so this could be the intersection of Jupiter and Three Eye Atlas. So I did ask, what was, another chart. Okay, look at this chart. You can see, again, the upper right-hand side of the picture. You can see Jupiter in green going around, and you can see the path of Three Eye Atlas. And I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but you can see the planes on their side. This is another picture, same thing, how they would intersect Three Eye Atlas is a blue straight line, kind of straight line, and the green line there is Jupiter intersecting that. And then I think I missed the part I want to talk about. Let me see here. Maybe it's this right here. Okay, here we go. All right, so I asked it about the possibility of this hitting Jupiter, and it said, do you mean could fragments from Three Eye Atlas? Said, no, fragments from the interstellar comet Three Eye Atlas will not hit Jupiter. The comet and its fragments are on a trajectory that will bring them safely past the gas giant March 26th before continuing out of the solar system. So March 16th is the date of that possibility. But when we look at if interstellar Atlas would hit Jupiter, all right, let's go here. All right, yeah, okay. If interstellar comet Three Eye Atlas would hit Jupiter, it would likely be torn apart by the forces before impact. Now, remember the previous slide talked about Jupiter being a gas giant, okay, and Jupiter's upper atmosphere creating a large disturbance similar to the comet Shoemaker-Levy impact. Now, we worried about Shoemaker-Levy way back in, I don't know, before 2000, maybe 96. Can't remember. So, you know, the resulting energetic event, it would be visible for a short period. We don't know how this can affect anything. Fragments could come, and quite frankly, if Jupiter's a gas giant, I think we would see it. So talk about just not Jupiter. Talked about Jupiter being a gas giant, right? It's one of these places anyway. Past Jupiter. So if Jupiter's a gas giant, is it possible that Jupiter could explode? I mean, I don't mean totally explode, but have some very significant chemical and gas changes that could impact a lot of things, put out a lot of maybe fireballs, maybe more comets, gaseous comets, things like that. And this is what it says during impact here. It says about the atmospheric disturbances, kind of breaks it down. What could happen if something hit Jupiter? And it says no significant change, but then again, we don't know what's floating around there. And so, how long would it take if we did have it some impact from Jupiter going toward the sun and going toward the Earth? Right now, Jupiter's got a 12-year yearly cycle, so it takes 12 years for Jupiter to go around the sun, and so Jupiter's a lot of times exactly opposite us on the other side of the sun, and so the sun, it would hit particles from Jupiter would hit the sun before it would hit the Earth, and so it says here it would apply approximately 2.9 years. Well, after the 2.9 years, how long would it take for us to see that it hit the sun? Well, it'd be about 7 minutes, because it takes the light from the sun 7 minutes to get to the Earth. So it takes particles to get to the sun 2.9 years, and the war has already started on Earth. They could have the rise of the Seventh World Empire from Revelation 17. They could have, they could be halfway through. Well, they could be halfway through Revelation 13 and starting into the second beast and the evil king that killed all the 144,000 in the first 3.5 years of Revelation 13. We would have already accomplished that thing, and Revelation 7 would be done. So we can see that these things are not just as easy. We saw that God stopped the sun and moon in Joshua's time, and we can see that the possibility that we can't really know and understand what's going to be happening with all these things. And so we have to see. There we go. Now here's something you can get that if you go to the internet, I don't have one. It would have helped me to. I wanted the AI intelligence to draw a line from the Earth up to whichever part of the solar system Virgo and Gemini was in. And I forget why, because one AI thing said that the AI atlas would be in Gemini. And so I tried to figure out where would that line run from this constellation where Gemini is on this over to Virgo. What kind of angle would that be, or what kind of inclination? So we'd have to do that to see, is that something that currently could happen with the particles coming from Jupiter, if there were any, or the sun to the Earth. What would be the orientation of that? So I think this is kind of cool. If you have one of these, I think it's called the Celestial Star Chart or something like that. I guess you can buy them. I don't have one, and I couldn't get anything to draw a line through that for me. But this is kind of what all these constellations look like. So he's going to wind up at the feet of Virgo now, and possibly even be at the feet of Virgo when it's hit in March 16th, 2026. Then see that little line coming through the sun is kind of what I was looking to make. The angle of that line, would that be 180 degrees? Would that be 90 degrees? What is that angle? So I don't know that. I think that's an interesting question. Just something to think about. I wanted to show you that. And that was about it. I think there was something else I wanted to talk about, and now I can't remember what it was. And so obviously I won't talk about it. All right. Well, that's kind of it. I'm going to get back to you on that point, and I know it's been kind of a long thing, but I just want to get that out there. I'll be talking more on it. I'll break this down a little easier and a little simpler, and then you'll have a chance maybe to have some questions in your mind, or pass that on to your pastor, or some brainiac that you know out there that could actually make some sense of this. All right, God bless. I hope the rapture does come and I get to see you up there.